This is Laura O'Brien, and I'm here with Jenna, who is one of our students with the Mórrígan Intensive. So, as you may have gathered from the playlist I'm going to create from these reviews, we are dealing with our class of 2023 reviews, and this is our after party from our 6-month Mórrígan Intensive program. So, Jenna has very kindly agreed to come and give us a review of the 6-month intensive. So, we're going to look at like the content. So, Jenna, what aspects of the Morrigan's mythology and history that were covered in the program, like, did you find the most compelling or enlightening? I know this is not kind of your first time studying the Morrigan, so like, was there anything that really kind of struck you or clicked for you this time round?
I think the biggest thing that clicked was having the dissertation and then having your thoughts on the dissertation. So being able to digest it in small parts and then relate it not just to in a historical sense, but how it comes forward in a modern sense and how to apply it in a daily practice in our studies, because it is heavy academic
Mm.
processes that you kind of have to go through, and you have to pull the pieces out, but then having your insight and the group insight. And I did a lot of lurking and a lot of reading and not a lot of commenting in the groups this time through, just because of where I was in my own world.
Mm.
But I was very engaged with the way it was being addressed and carried through, like discussions like, okay, war in the Morrigans versus what war is as we see it now and in different cultures, or the shape shifting and how that can apply to even just different aspects. Like for me, different aspects of personality, roles that I have to fulfill. So it was very much like taking a deep dive and looking at it academically and historically, but then also looking at it with everybody's perspective and your commentary on how it applies. And I thought that made it more meaningful,
Cool.
um, and more able to be put into a practice.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that, and I really enjoyed that part of it, because I've done a lot of the lore study, but I hadn't done a lot of bringing it forward into my daily life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, while that was always a kind of a thread woven through the content in previous years, I really kind of doubled down on that as well this year, where just making it applicable. And that was on direct direction from the Morrigan. Basically, it's like all of this stuff, having the academics, having the mythology, having the lore is so important. But Jenna, at the Irish Pagan School, it's we learn, we experience, and we integrate. And I felt in previous years maybe the integration of it into people's lives. Like, I knew how I was integrating it, but I wasn't maybe making that clear enough. So it's really good to hear that that was useful for people as well, because like what else are we doing if we're studying spirituality, if we're studying mythology, if we're studying, thousands of years ago, Ireland is great to know about for the context, and really important to know about for the context, because it helps us make sense of it. But it's the relevance of it to now and how it's applicable to our own lives is really the value, I think, of this kind of work, and this 6 months deep dive.
Definitely. And I think it helps when you are giving examples of how it's applicable in our daily lives. I think even if it's not our exact situation,
Mm.
as a student, it helps us to look more closely at how we are viewing things, what lens we're using, and sort of open up those, sometimes really hard questions within ourselves, on how we're how we're working this in our practice, and if we're doing this correct, not correctly, but if it's something that's genuine and authentic and really actually benefiting us and the people are, that we're around. Are we hurting people with our practices? Are we, are we helping ourselves, or are we just losing ourselves in it? There was a lot of stuff that went through there, and the applicability was one of the huge things that helped make sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I think spiritual bypassing is a big problem in modern kind of spiritualities, and especially, new age stuff. And the idea of everything is just fine, and and as you say, like, not examining how our own spirituality, how our own practices, if we're checked in, if we're checked out, like how it's affecting our own lives, our relationships. Like, we talk about being in right relationship, but we also have to be in right relationship with our own lives and with the people that we, share dwellings with, or not always, I suppose, depending on your situation, but um, not yours personally, Jenna.
Yeah.
I was looking more generally there. But yeah, it's just yeah, thanks, Jenna. That's really good feedback.
All right.
I'm going to be reviewing all of these as well. And as I say, like, actually, like, I'm not doing it right now, but I really want to go through all of this and kind of mark yay and nay, what's working, what's not, and go through the content for when we launch in 2024 and beyond, go back through it all and just make sure that we're doubling down on what's really working and, shifting anything that's not. So thanks for the feedback, Jen. I really appreciate it.
Yep, and I would definitely recommend it. But I do agree. You have to know that you're going to have to give the time and space for it, because even if you're not, just going through the materials can be very challenging if you're not in the right headspace for it.
Yeah.
So one other thing is, I am super glad that you leave it open for the next 6 months, because there are so many things that I need to go back and check in with on the program, that makes a huge difference. Having that it's not just done as of the end of the 26 weeks, that we have that time to go back, because there are a lot of things that I need to go back and look at and see how I've changed even from the stuff I did at the beginning. So that's a huge bonus too.
Yeah, because the content stacks up over the 6 months. So when you're getting to the end of the 6 months, then stuff that you were just maybe encountering fresh in month one is going to have a whole different context then. So yeah, I hear you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.